Hello and welcome to another Trades and Tutorials video. This is Jeff Fish, president of MarketGauge.com, and I'm bringing to you today a pattern that you should watch out for after big days in the market or in any market, really. And the thing that made me want to show you this pattern today is SPYs had a pretty big day. All the indexes had a pretty big day. And the first thing I think of when I see a big range day, so in this case, this buys nice big range here, I want to focus on a specific point the very next day. And that specific point is a floor trader pivot. And if you're not familiar with the floor trader pivot, it's simply the high-low close divided by 3. And if you look in our glossary, you will find the definitions of the floor trader pivot and other floor trader pivots. You can find the glossary right off of our homepage in the free resources area. But for the purposes of this video, I want to get right into how to use it. So I have this indicator that we've created that labels the floor trader pivots nicely. So you can see floor trader pivot, again, high-low close divided by 3. That's on a daily basis. And so you can see that that number is displayed by the gray line, happens to have a label, but that's just so that I can make it easy for demonstration purposes. Every platform, just about every platform, displays the floor trader pivots. And so those also have other levels such as R1, R2. Many of you have probably heard of these, S1. If you haven't, look them up. They're incredibly powerful in a lot of different ways. And I'm just going to show you one particular pattern. So the pattern that I'm looking for is after a big day, so a big range day, you should expect that the floor trader pivot is going to be important the next day. So one of the ways I look at this is to actually just look at a 5-minute chart. Now in this case, I've put the 5-minute bars on it, but in reality, I really look at it with a 5-minute line chart. And I look at it with all the major ETFs for stock indexes, SPYs, Qs, IWMs, and diamonds to give me a sense of how the markets are trading. But for this particular video, I'm focusing on one specific pattern, and that is when you have a good move in the market and you close substantially above where the floor trader pivot is going to be. Or in this case, let's say coming into today, yesterday the SPYs had a pretty decent move higher and one that moved the floor trader pivots up significantly. Then we gapped up to a level significantly above the floor trader pivot. So if it pulls back, I'm going to look for that floor trader pivot to be support. Now, I also happen to have this little indicator that's telling me where the floor trader pivot's going to be the next day. That is a custom indicator, but you can figure out the floor trader pivots quickly right on the open based on your platform's calculation. So tomorrow, I know that the floor trader pivot in the SPYs is going to be right here, right under 205. So we're closing substantially above that floor trader pivot level. So this is going to be a really important level to watch for either a bounce and then to move higher, or if it breaks through that level, then you might expect that the market's going to pull back. In other words, I know after a big day that if I stay above the floor trader pivot, that's a good place to be a buyer against with a tight stop. Or if I break through it, then maybe the momentum has been broken. All right, so let's just take a look at a couple of other examples in the SPYs recently. So here's a move. Here's a pretty decent move, closed well above the next day's floor trader pivot, and then gapped higher. And when it pulled back, look, it held the floor trader pivot nicely, tried to break below it, and once came back above it. For those of you familiar with an opening range reversal, this is it right here. All right, so the opening range was right around here, broke down, came back up through, beautiful opening range reversal. Now, this is not limited to the market indexes. So for example, another way I used this today was in XLP. So if you've followed this particular video sequence, you know I've been focusing on ETFs and ETFs that have been strong on the year. And so XLP is one I happen to already have a position in, but today I knew that it had closed well above its floor trader pivot. It's been closing relatively strong. It gapped higher, just like the market did. And when it pulled back, I looked to see where it held right at the floor trader pivot. I bought some more on the reversal. I had a stop under here, and it made for a nice trade or a nice add because what you don't see here on the daily chart, this is breaking out to new highs. So it provided a really easy way to have a tight stop. Now another trade literally from today, same exact concept, came in ACT. Right, so ACT's been really strong. Let's take a look at ACT on a daily chart for a second so you can get a sense of it. Okay, so here's ACT. And so yesterday ACT was really strong. I had a nice big range day. The daily chart looks really good. I didn't necessarily want to pay up for it if it just broke out, but if it pulled back a little, where would I want to see it pull back to? Floor trader pivot. So if I go back to this chart, you can see closed up here, pulled back where? Right down to the floor trader pivot. Was also an opening range reversal, so I was able to pick some up as an opening range reversal. Now it didn't explode higher necessarily, but made a couple dollars. In ACT, was able to get in at a cheap price relative to the rest of the day. Now, one other market this works really well in because it's moving is the TLTs. So keep an eye on that floor trader pivot in the TLTs as well. Again, if we just look at the daily charts on the TLTs, big range day here, and same thing I'm saying with the SPYs. If this thing rallies up, gaps higher, what are you going to look for? Can it get through the floor trader pivot? If it can on the upside, then maybe it means it's going back up. But if it rolls over there, watch out. All right, so let's take a look at TLTs on the floor trader pivot chart today. And you can see here's where it closed yesterday, gapped right up to that floor trader pivot level, and down she goes. Another example just from the other day, right? Now the other day it did gap up, didn't really have a big range day, but the floor trader pivot moved up pretty substantially, right? Then it gaps higher, comes down, can't hold the floor trader pivot, and that was the end of it. So moral of the story here, pay attention to that floor trader pivot, but more specifically, pay attention to the floor trader pivot after you have a big range day, or at least a greater than average range day. You'll find that if you close away from where that floor trader pivot is, then the pullback to it is more significant and an easier trade, because in that case you're generally trading at a situation where the market has moved on the day. Great place to pick something up cheap or sell it expensive. You'll get the hang of it, and if not, well, keep watching the videos. I'm sure you'll see a lot more videos about the floor trader pivot because it's a really powerful concept. Hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next video.